Ever since Michigan football lost at USC, it has been in must-win mode to keep its college football playoff hopes alive. The priority, of course, was always circling Ohio State at the end of the year, but Michigan had to get there with no more losses in order to keep its season goals ahead of it. As of tonight, those goals have been successful. Michigan handles business on the road, takes care of Maryland 45-20 here at CQ Stadium in beautiful College Park, Maryland. The Wolverines have two losses and have the Ohio State game left on the schedule with everything to play for. A much cleaner offensive game for Michigan took care on the defensive side after some opening series scuffles. Sam Webb joins me from the
Yeah.
Michigan Insider. Sam, your thoughts, big picture, on a comfortable win, perhaps the most comfortable win of Michigan's season so far.
Yeah, it's what you wanted to see, Alejandro, from them offensively after last week's game. You wondered if they were going to be able to build on the positives from last week because if you look at how they started, it was it was so good for the first half of that game. I mean, Bryce was 9 of 10 in the first quarter, I think 6 of 10 in the second quarter. He was rolling offensively. They were running the football. It was a lot of balance. And then obviously it went downhill with all of the turnovers, but they were able to bounce back at the end and showed a lot of resiliency. A lot of negativity from the fan base because of how disjointed it was. But if you were able to sort of put it in context as a team and say, hey, we did a lot good. There was a lot of ugliness in the middle, but we showed some resiliency and bounced back. If you were able to take the positives and start how you finish, start how you started last week, boy, you could really roll. And that's what they did in this game. Bryce was really on point throwing the football. And even without Jordan Marshall today, Bryson Cusdahl ran the football well today, and the offensive line really imposed its will.
Yeah, let's talk about some of those injuries and some of those players who were not available for Michigan tonight, because there were quite a few. We just got out of the post-game press conference with Sharon Moore, had a chance to talk to him, had a chance to talk to players. So let me just break down what I've heard for you, and then we can talk about what that means. Starting with Jordan Marshall, what we heard from Sharon Moore is Jordan Marshall, he was officially questionable on the injury report. He warmed up. He could have gone today in the event of an emergency if he was needed. Of course, as you mentioned, Sam, Bryson Kutzdahl played plenty well enough, broke the century mark, and so did, I think, all the way down to RB7 on the Michigan depth chart. Pretty much everyone got a chance to get some touches for Michigan. But as it pertains to Ohio State, everything sounds like it remains in line for Jordan Marshall to be back for that Ohio State game. Thoughts on that first?
Yeah, I think it was a smart decision to hold Jordan Marshall out of this game. I think they knew, Maryland was last in the Big Ten in stopping the run. I think they knew they would be able to run the football without him. So why use up your bull in a game where you could not to downplay any of your other guys, but I mean you could have running this game. I
Sam, I
mean,
think they almost
I'm
had me
waiting
suiting
for
up.
somebody to run 100 yards in this game. I'm
They
just
almost had me suit. I mean, after it was Tommaso Mira, right, for the end of the fourth
right,
quarter. And listen, if there'd been one more drive, I'm pretty sure you would have seen me out there. It would have
right.
been.
I'm just
Uh,
saying. I mean, you saved Jordan Marshall for Ohio State, right? So it was a smart decision to preserve him for another week, and he'll be ready to go. He'd have to be falling apart to not play in the game next week, and you just really feel like the way that this offensive line has come together. Frankly, I want to give them credit. I want to give Grant Newsom credit. You look at this offensive line brain trust that they have. A lot of offensive line coaches in this group. They have really developed this unit as a run blocking unit better than I expected it to develop. I thought they'd be able to be solid. I think they become a good run blocking unit. I don't know if it's pass blocking. I think it's still developing, but run blocking unit, they're a good run blocking unit. I think they can hang their hat on that. And so feel good about that. Man, Max's absence, even if you feel like Jalen Hoffman is good enough to fill the shoes of the Max duties, there are a lot of things that they do with two H back type guys. Like I'll give you a for instance. So there some of that double slice action that they introduced in the Michigan State game that was so effective. You know, their double slice, their double bluff action, it was tremendous in that game. It's a tremendous run scheme for them now that Michigan State couldn't stop. I think they brought it back out. I want to say not in it hit for that big play in the Northwestern game too. You need two guys, two H-back guys for that. So it was Max and Jalen Hoffman in the backfield. I don't know if you can run that package without Max. So you can have Jalen Hoffman in there when it's just, when you're just running with one H back. But if you need two H backs, I don't know. Sure, you got a lot of two tight end things that you do, like a lot of 12 and 13 personnel when you have inline tight end stuff. But I'm talking about when you have your H back personnel package things. I don't know if they have another guy that can do that stuff. Can your tight ends do that stuff? Maybe they can. I just don't know, Alejandro. So that's something that I'm gonna be looking to see, and it'll be a real setback, I think, if Max Bredeson isn't available.
Yeah. Steve Kasula, the Michigan tight ends coach, has said it anytime you ask about Max Bredeson. Is Max Bredeson's a unicorn? He's one of a kind. The things he does, not necessarily popping up in the stat sheet, although he did have a reception tonight, but the type of player he is, both as a tone setter, but also in what he allows the Michigan offense to do. Sam, the reason you bring him up to get everyone up to speed here is he did miss the back half of this game. He was on crutches and unfortunately had a boot, I believe, on his lower left leg. It was either left or right, but either way, either ankle or foot there on his lower leg. Kept a close eye on him throughout the fourth quarter, particularly. There was a very healthy contingent of Michigan fans here. And of course, they were noticing Max Bredeson not being on the field, Max Bredeson on crutches. They were yelling out to him, asking if he was okay. He kept giving a thumbs up to the sideline. And then I followed him post game as he was doing the handshakes with his own teammates, with Maryland players. He kept saying, "I'm good." But what that means for next week seems like it's still to be seen. When we asked Sharon Moore about him, Sharon Moore said there'll be additional testing done when Michigan gets back to Ann Arbor to figure out, I guess, the details, the extent of his injury, and then potentially whether or not he'd be available next week for Ohio State. Absolutely, from both a scheme perspective, as you detailed, Sam, but also, of course, from a cultural perspective. We know what Max Bredesen means to this offense. He embodies the smash mantra mentality, that hard nosed win in the trenches type of football that Michigan has beaten Ohio State with 4 years in a row, and that helped Michigan reach and win a national championship a couple of years ago. Absolutely would be a huge loss. A couple other players who were maybe more unexpected that we didn't see today, on the defensive side of the ball, or yeah, on the defensive side of the ball, another captain, Ernest Hausmann, did not make the trip. On the
Yeah.
offensive side of the ball, no Samaj Morgan. I think from an impact perspective, Ernest Hausmann is the bigger absence there. We didn't get a clear answer from Michigan as to why he wasn't here. I talked to Michigan's PR staff. What they said was he's unavailable and it is not disciplinary related. So that could be personal reasons or that could be injury related. When we asked Sharon Moore, I asked Sharon Moore about Ernest Hausmann post game, said he was working through something, which is his go to phrase, and said it was not a long term thing, but then wouldn't say definitively whether or not Ernest Hausmann would be available for the Ohio State game next week. Sam,
So
your thoughts?
so my thoughts are, if you follow Ernest on his social media, you can see that he is talking what he's talking about in his social media posts is he is experiencing something. He is an awakening of some kind that he is working through. Um, it has his attention. Um, I don't know if it's something that will keep him away beyond this week. But that appears to be, to me, if you, because I listened to his podcast. He had a podcast about what he is experiencing spiritually, what he is experiencing emotionally, what he's experiencing personally. I don't know if that is going to continue to be the focus that commands all of his attention. But to me, that is what's commanding his attention right now. I don't know what if you're Michigan, if you're the team, you gotta your focus has to be the team. You support him how you can on the side, but your focus has to be the team, and you hope that his focus can divert back to the team. But I mean, you can you don't have to. It doesn't take much to see. You can observe what's going on with him right now, and try to support him the best way you can, while you can, without it taking away from the bottom line for your team. I don't think that's insensitive to say. Like your focus has to be the team if you're the team, and then you support him on the side, and hope that he can get back as a captain. This is not insensitive to say either. As a captain of the team, you hope that he can get back to being a captain of the team as well, because that is a duty that he took upon himself too, right? So you hope that that can be the case, because as you look ahead, listen, you know, he, he has a huge role on the defense. His as deep as they are at that position, um, in the Ohio State game, his absence will be felt if he doesn't play. His absence in the run game, his absence in the pass game, especially more so this year even than last year, because Ohio State's tight ends are more prominent in the pass game now than they were before. So, it's something that you just got to deal with. You got to prepare like he isn't going to be there. You hope that he will be, but if he isn't, you just got to keep on pushing, keep on rolling, and hope for the best. About all I.
Ernest Hausmann, of course, he's been the green dot for Michigan's defense. He's been the guy with the coach to player communications. He's the captain of the defense in many ways, and he is a captain on this football team. The end result of what it looked like here on the Saturday evening at CQ Stadium in College Park was that Michigan was without three of its captains, right? Max Bredeson was in sidelines on crutches. Rod Moore, of course, well documented what he's been going through from a recovery standpoint, as he's dealing with his knee situation that's been ongoing for a couple of years. And then no Ernest Hausmann here. The positive, of course, was that Michigan took care of business in a way that this game was not a nail biter into the fourth quarter. And some of the reasons why that was in part of because of some of the captains Michigan had on the offensive side of the ball. Offensive line, as you mentioned, with Gio Hadi, Marlon Klein. I mean, one of the highlight reel plays of the year for him with that catch and hurdle setting up a Michigan touchdown. He wasn't the only one, of course. Andrew Marsh, another big game for him, targeted 9 times, most on the team, 5 catches, 76 yards, an early touchdown, and an early touchdown that by itself was also highlight worthy. Bryce putting the ball up to him in coverage and him making a difficult catch. I mean, it's been a few weeks of this, Sam, of Andrew Marsh just continuing to take step after step. Your thoughts on a freshman who very much does not look like a freshman anymore in this offense?
Absolutely. Well said. A guy who has, I think, ascended in a way that gives his quarterback comfort. You can tell because now Bryce just feels comfortable throwing it up to him, even if you've heard the saying, "If I'm even, I'm open." Quarterbacks. It takes a lot for them to, and we've hung around quarterbacks a lot. Hey, man, I'm not going to risk it. I'm not just going to risk it throwing it up to you. But that's trust that he has in Andrew now to just throw it up to him and feel like my guy's going to come down with it. I mean, you saw him later in the game. He threw it up to him, and there were two guys over there.
Yeah,
That's
bounced off a helmet. Yeah.
yeah, that's trust, right? So yeah, Andrew. But hey, man, I feel like I said that before the season. Like, you got to play this guy. Like, even before they were playing, I was like, you got to play. You know, hey, I'm not a coach. And I readily admit that. I don't ever pretend that I know more than coaches. I just, if I just feel like at times, um, you know, I, my man Al Boyd just said, "Hey Sam, you just you know enough to be dangerous," is what he what he says sometimes. I know that kid, and I know that I know his talent relative to what they had, and I just felt like you throw him out there from the beginning of the season because his talent was so superior to the other guys that they had that, you know, he was going to make up for what he didn't know. And eventually, I think they came to the same conclusion. So I never pretended that I knew more than the coaches, but I just felt like, hey, man, you just throw him out there and figure it out, or give him 5 plays and just say, let's just run these 5 plays. Eventually, I think they came to the same conclusion, and they just started throwing them out there, right? Like, I just don't think you can coach care. Just like, for instance, remember when I said, hey, man, like, you got to run Bryce. Like they were saying, you remember when Sharon was saying, hey, if you're gonna run your quarterback, you better have two. And I disagree. I just say, hey, man, I don't think you can coach like that. I think you got to run your quarterback. Because I think you're holding the offense back if you don't run them. Eventually, they came to the same conclusion. I don't think I know more football than Sharon Moore. I don't. I just happen to disagree with him on that point. And so I feel like we can disagree with the coaches from time to time. That doesn't mean we know more than them. I felt like we are vindicated on those 2 points. So, and Andrew Marsh is showing us right now with the way that he's playing. I think they put up the stat during the game that he's leading the Big Ten in receptions since he got inserted into the starting lineup, in yardage since he got put into the starting lineup. I think that is a great weapon to have heading into the Ohio State game, because if you're looking for one play explosiveness in this offense, in the absence of Justice Haynes now, Alejandro, he's it for Michigan. He's the one guy you have on offense that you say, hey, who's going to give me that? Oh, we got to look out for who's going to strike fear in the defense that can strike from 60, 70 yards out in one play. It's Andrew Marsh.
Yeah. You talk about a growth for a player who I remember in week one had a pass thrown at him. He wasn't even looking for the ball, right? The steps he's taken to get to where he's at. And to your point, Sam, Andrew Marsh making plays not only as a receiver, but also in special teams as well. Michigan has its best kick return of the year. Thanks to Andrew Marsh, who returns one for 39 yards, helps set up a short field for the offense in the second half as well. Also inserted as the punt returner, 2 returns for 23 yards, long of 14. I think without having the stats in front of me, I'm pretty sure that may be Michigan's longest punt return of the year as well. So good things have happened when Andrew Marsh has gotten the ball in his hands, and they continue to happen. And hopefully for Michigan, they will next week as well. Sam, we've gotten to the 19-minute mark, and we barely talked about Bryce Underwood, starting quarterback for Michigan, who has an efficient outing. I think lucky not to have thrown an interception early in this game. Sharon Moore was quick to admit it himself as well, that very much could and should have been an interception, potentially a pick six. Gets a bit lucky there, but settles in, finishes. Let's find his stat here. I don't. There it is. 16 for 23, 215 yards, 2 touchdowns. Gets sacked a couple times, but even including those sacks, picks up 30 yards on the ground with his legs. Sam, your thoughts on the performance of a young quarterback who I think, as you said, played in spurts his best game last week and was able to put it together a little bit more for more of a complete 45 minutes, not 60 minutes because he didn't need all 60, but a more full 45 minutes tonight.
Yes, you're absolutely right. He was fortunate that that wasn't an interception. How he recovered from that is what I want to focus on, because it'd be very easy for him to go in a shell after that play, like he he kind of turtled up after the interception last week, right? It affected him, but he made his best throws after that play. I mean, I think of the ball to Marlon Klein where he got it over the linebackers. It was a perfectly thrown ball. I mean, the dagger that he threw in the game. I mean, he was throwing great. He made some great downfield throws. The fade that he threw to Andrew Marsh in the end zone. Like the touch that he is putting on balls from the pocket is an encouraging sign. The way that he responded to bad plays, that was encouraging too. In addition to the point that you made earlier about, okay, you got a receiver that you trust. Give your guys a shot. That's one of the things that we've been talking about, Al Borges. It's like, hey man, give your guys down the field a shot on some of these downfield throws. There've been a lot of times where guys down the field have been open and they haven't had a shot at these throws. He's been doing better with that as well. So we've seen progress in the passing game. He's been more comfortable in the pocket, and all of that evidence was on display in this game, right? And so I think Chip did a great job of giving him balance in the calls. It kind of play calling comfort. You gave him short and intermediate throws, but the screens were mixed in the game. He mixed in an ample number of RPOs. There were a good number of RPOs in the game, so those are his layups as well. And then mix in some downfield throws to his guy, and so you got rhythm in there. I think it all adds up, a tapestry, if you will, to a quarterback with comfort. Were there still some times where he left the pocket a little too early, left a good pocket early? Sure. But all in all, I think you have a quarterback who right now is as comfortable as we've seen him be, coming off a game where the Northwestern game where he was really comfortable to start, made some mistakes, was knocked off kilter, rediscovered his moxie, and then came out and had his best game of the year start to finish as far as comfort and execution was concerned.
Yeah, you want to talk about an offense that's comfortable. 12 of 14 on third downs is a good indication of that, of an offense that is putting itself in obviously manageable third down situations, but in plays where you got to have it. Michigan had it almost every single time. Speaking of something that Michigan's had almost every single time these last few weeks, that defensive run wall against a rushing attack. I mean, last week, Northwestern, obviously a much more formidable rush attack than Maryland, which is pretty low. They don't run the ball, right? And Malik Washington, their quarterback, came in as a true freshman, pretty much the diametric opposite of Bryce Underwood in what the offense asked them to do with him, right? Like Malik Washington, lowest completion percentage in the Big Ten, most number of pass attempts as a true freshman. They don't run the ball. But that being said, to hold their leading running back to 12 carries, 41 yards on the day, that's another week where Michigan's held their opponent's top rusher well under 100 yards, I believe under 50 yards 2 weeks in a row. Sam, that defensive line, Trey Williams, first sack of his career. Derek Moore, another outstanding performance in a homecoming for him here in College Park, and specifically to College Park. Jay Sean Barham put some fear into Malik Williams' head as he came through for a sack. That defensive line, that defensive front, Sam.
Yeah,
another impressive showing. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I felt good for Jay Sean and for D Moore. They came out there in front of their home, their family and friends, and they played well. They got sacks at home, so they wanted to play well. Even Brandon Hillman from down the road, but it's DMV still. Those guys acquitted themselves well at home, like you expected them to. So good for them. It's all set up for the game, right?
Yeah.
Front seven, I expected them to, and this is the least sacked team in the Big Ten. They came in having only surrendered 4 sacks all season. Now, part of that is they get rid of the ball so quickly. They held the ball longer. I guess they were felt like, hey, we got to get some big plays and throw the football down the field. So they decided they were going to hold the football a little longer and give or surrender the opportunity for more sacks, and Michigan benefited from that. But that kind of sets up, to me, what is a bit of a concern. And if you're Michigan, you got to take this away from the game. There were too many times where guys were running open in the secondary.
Yeah. I was
And
going to ask you, Sam,
yeah, and
what's the level of concern there?
yeah, and they just couldn't, either Malik Washington couldn't hit the guys or Maryland just dropped balls. And Michigan just was fortunate that they ran into a team that couldn't capitalize on the opportunities, because there were a lot of missed opportunities where Maryland was the best defense. Maryland beat Maryland, and Michigan didn't beat Maryland on those plays. So you got to call that out. You got to call it like you see it. If Michigan didn't, bat that pass down, or defend that, getting Malik Washington's face. No, he just, threw a bad ball, or the receiver didn't make the catch. They got to do a much better job next week against a team that isn't going to miss those opportunities, frankly. So it was not an A+ effort on the back end, or even close to it, in this game. There was some really stout plays at times. I can think of a few plays Zeke Berry made on the back end. Mason Curtis came up with an interception. I mean, it wasn't all bad on the back end, Alejandro, but like I said, there were a few times in this game where guys were running wide open. I mean, wide open, and were just flat out missed.
Yeah. Malik Washington finishes 19 for 39 with an interception, also throws a touchdown. That was a first quarter touchdown. Should have had a second, but that was fumbled. Actually, that was the backup quarterback. All that being said, Sam, I did see the back of Jair Hill's uniform a few too many times, as he was, you would say, in trail position and not in phase necessarily. With his receiver, felt like Shalik Knotts in particular had a couple that could have gone for more, had the throw been better, and certainly had he done a bit better tracking the ball through the air. All that being said, Sam, 45-20, a comfortable win where, listen, by the fourth quarter, it was 80% Michigan fans here. The starting defensive line was asking me on the sideline to take their photo because they were posing for a picture. You know, reminiscent of that 1,000th win when Michigan came here and won back in 2023, where it was a Michigan fan takeover.
Yeah.
It's what you wanted out of the week before Ohio State, right? You didn't have to play your starters through the fourth quarter. You were able to, rest your guys a little bit, and you were able to improve in areas that you wanted to see improved on before, obviously, the biggest game of the year. Michigan, its players, its coaches saying, at least offensively, they feel like they're peaking at the right time. And certainly that'll be necessary against the nation's number one defense and potentially the nation's best team when Ohio State comes to Michigan Stadium next Saturday afternoon. It's the game, a 12 o'clock kickoff on Fox. Sam, any final thoughts
Oh yeah.
from what you saw here from CQ
Oh,
Park here
well,
in College Park?
look, man, I got a bunch of thoughts this week. I think you know that this week, that there isn't a week in the season that I love more than this week. There isn't the only fan base I love more than Ohio State's is Michigan's. I think I love the Buckeyes. The Buckeye fans, they just don't love me. I don't know why. I give them all kinds of nuggets the week leading up to the game. They just don't listen to them. Understand this. Everything that we saw in this game is going to lead to nervousness and trepidation for Michigan fans, and an abundance of confidence for Ohio State fans. The game plan is going to be different. The focus is going to be different. If Michigan is in a one-score game, either way, either up or down, heading into the fourth quarter with Ohio State, they are going to win. Let me repeat myself. If it is a one-score game heading into the fourth quarter, Michigan is going to win. Now, Ryan Day's objective is to make sure that is not going to be the case. And hey, it may happen that it won't be. He may have his team up by 21 points. heading into the fourth quarter. That is going to be his aim, his clear objective. But for Michigan, their objective has got to be on offense and defense as a strategy to drag this game out. Your style of play should dictate that it's a fourth quarter game. So if you build into your thought process that, listen, we want this to be a fourth quarter game. So Ohio State, if you believe that their offense is like that it's potent, that if you build into it, that you think they're going to score a point, not that you can see that, hey, they're going to kill you, but you can see that you think they're going to score some points. You think they're going to score some points. They are not going to score 1 or 2 plays or even 3 plays. You're going to score on me. It's going to take you 10 plays to score. It's going to take you 11 plays to score. And as galling as it might be for fans to watch you might think it's, oh, man, they're killing us. They're killing us. It's going to take you 8 minutes to score. I'm going to shorten this game. It's going to be a low possession game. And we're going to be in the fourth quarter. I'm going to have a shot in this game. Now, it's going to require my offense is going to have to score some points, but I am going to do whatever I have to do by style of play and by game flow to put game pressure on Ryan Day. Because I think his players are like when Jeremiah Smith talks and he's like, hey, I'm going to make sure that we don't – see, I think he's built for this. I think he's like that. Ryan Day does not want that. I make this analogy, and people might think it's crass, but I told Vance this. I said, listen, buy stock in Clorox and any kind of cleaner. Because if it's a fourth quarter game, all the Clorox in Columbus won't clean Ryan Day's drawers. I'm just telling you. The streaks ain't coming out. I'm letting you know. The delousing powder not going to take care of what's going on with Ryan Day. It's going to be that kind of gross, sort of issues going on with him. He is going to be nasty in all kind of ways. His bodily functions are going to let loose because he cannot handle the pressure of a tight game with Michigan late. Don't want it, can't handle it. Tight games in the playoffs against other teams, that's fine and dandy. Says nothing about a tight game with Michigan. Don't want it, can't handle it. It's different. So if he can get up by 20 points heading into the fourth quarter against Michigan, game, set, match. 3.7 points heading into the fourth quarter against Michigan, Michigan is winning the game. So buckle up, folks. This is going to be a great week. I know a lot of folks lost confidence. You said it's not going to happen. It can't happen. Michigan has no chance. They have no shot. Why would you believe that Michigan has no shot in this game after the last 4 years? I don't care what you've seen all season long. After last year, yeah, they had Mason Graham and Kenneth Grant, but they had nothing on offense. They couldn't complete a forward pass, and they still won the game in Columbus against the team that they said. You remember what they said about Ohio State last year? Forget what they're saying about this team this year. They were saying that was the greatest college team of all time. There had never been a better team in the history of college football than the one that Ohio State had last year. That's what Urban Meyer was saying before the season. Never had been a better college team in the history of college football that had been assembled. And that's the team that Michigan went down into Columbus and beat without the best player that they had playing on offense. The best player that they had on defense, at least had into the season. A walk-on at quarterback who did play a particularly great game, and they still beat him. And you think Michigan has no chance in this game? Stop it, people. Come on now. You gotta find some intestinal fortitude somewhere. somewhere.
Well,
That's all
speaking
I
of
got so
streaks,
far.
Sam, speaking of streaks, the streak is 4. We shall see if it becomes 5. It's going to be a very exciting week. It is the week we all dream of all year long. It's the best rivalry in college football, arguably the best rivalry in all of sports. It's Michigan, Ohio State. And once again, it matters a whole heck of a lot. It's going to be an exciting week over at the Michigan Insider, michigan.247sports.com. Obviously, we're going to keep tabs on everything Michigan football, but keeping tabs on Max Bredeson and his injury, Ernest Hausmann, and what his situation is leading up to the Ohio State game. Obviously, Sam, who has detailed breakdowns of offense, defense, with experts who can help get you prepared for what Michigan will expect from the Ohio State Buckeyes. It's going to be an awesome week over at the Michigan Insider, michigan.247sports.com. I'm Alejandro Zuniga here at CQ Stadium. That's Sam Webb. It's been a season, and there's one left, and we all know what that one is. So let's have some fun, and let's see if we can't make that a one-score game heading into the fourth quarter.
There you go.
Sam, happy Thanksgiving, man.
Happy Thanksgiving, man. We'll see you guys.